Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Let's do it.
Okay, so today we're looking at something I find super interesting. It's this idea that playing games can actually help high school students become better critical thinkers.
Sounds a little counterintuitive, right?
It does a bit,
Yes.
but that's what we're here for, to dig into the research.
Exactly. And we've got a fascinating paper to explore for this deep dive.
Yeah, so the paper is by Siling Chen and Yunqi Huang from the National Taiwan University of Science and Technology.
And they looked at how the process of designing games, specifically digital storytelling games, could impact students' critical thinking skills.
So not just playing games, but actually creating them.
Exactly.
I like that.
The idea is that the process of game design itself could be a really engaging way to boost those skills.
Okay, so tell me more about this study. How did it work?
Well, they designed a whole course where students learned about these, important civic issues.
Okay, like what kind of issues?
Things like human rights, media literacy, cultural diversity.
The really important stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The stuff we should all be thinking critically about.
Right.
And they had the students learn about these topics by building their own games.
What kind of games were they making?
They were using software called RenP to create visual novels.
Oh, interesting. So those kind of interactive fiction games where you make choices that affect the story.
Exactly. Those are pretty popular, and they can be a great way to explore complex themes.
Yeah, I can see that. So they're tackling these important issues, and they're building games around them. Sounds like a pretty good recipe for getting them to think critically, right?
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
The study didn't actually find a statistically significant improvement in students' critical thinking scores after the 9-week course.
Really? That's kind of surprising.
Yeah, it was a bit unexpected.
Yeah.
We often assume that hands-on activities like game design would automatically lead to better critical thinking.
Right. It seems like it would be a pretty straightforward way to boost those skills.
Yeah, but, it turns out that critical thinking is a pretty complex skill. It takes time and practice to develop.
Makes sense.
And a standardized test, it might not always capture all the nuances of how that learning is happening.
I guess that makes sense. So maybe the test itself wasn't the best way to measure the impact of the course.
Possibly, yeah.
But, did the students at least feel like they were thinking more critically?
That is a great question, and that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
So the researchers didn't just rely on those test scores. They also collected what we call qualitative data.
Qualitative data.
Yeah, they conducted student interviews to get a more in-depth understanding of their experiences.
So they basically just asked the students about what they learned and how they felt the course was impacting them.
Exactly. And that's where some really fascinating insights emerge.
Okay, I'm all ears. What did the students have to say?
Well, a lot of them said that the process of designing the games really forced them to think more deeply about the material.
I can see that. It's one thing to, read about something in a textbook, but it's a whole other thing to have to actually create something with that information.
Right. And with game design, you can't just passively absorb information. You have to analyze it, apply it, and figure out how to weave it into this interactive experience.
Makes sense. You have to think about how the players are going to react, what choices they might make.
Exactly. And how those choices are going to affect the narrative. It's almost like you're constantly playing devil's advocate with yourself.
Yeah, I could see that. It's like you have to consider every angle.
Yeah, you do. And one student even described themselves as becoming an active inquirer rather than passively waiting for answers.
Active inquirer. I like that.
Designing the game pushed them to seek out information and consider different perspectives all on their own.
That's a pretty big shift in mindset, isn't it?
It is, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of the students. They talked about having these aha moments where they realized they were approaching the material in a whole new way.
So even if the test didn't show a huge improvement, it sounds like the students were definitely engaging with the material on a deeper level.
They definitely were. And they were developing those critical thinking muscles in the process, even if it wasn't showing up on a standardized test.
Right. So it sounds like this game design approach wasn't just about boosting critical thinking scores. There were other benefits too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where we start to see these ripple effects of this kind of active creative learning.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these ripple effects. What else were the students experiencing?
Well, for one thing, they reported a significant improvement in their communication skills. They felt more confident expressing their opinions, articulating their thoughts clearly, and even resolving disagreements constructively.
That's amazing. Learning to communicate effectively is such a valuable skill no matter what you do in life.
Absolutely. And one student even said, "Now I feel a lot more confident in what I think is right. I still accept the opinions of others and stay open-minded just as much, but I am more confident about convincing others with my own opinions than before."
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
It sounds like they weren't just learning how to think critically, but they were also gaining the confidence to express their thoughts and engage in meaningful dialogue.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so we've got improved critical thinking, better communication skills.
Yeah.
What else?
They also felt like their problem-solving abilities had improved.
Problem solving, how so?
Well, think about it. When you're designing a game, you have to break down these complex tasks, analyze different options, and come up with creative solutions.
Yeah, all those things are essential for navigating real-world challenges.
Exactly. It's like those game design challenges were training them to think outside the box and approach problems from different angles.
It's like they were getting this, like, mental workout.
Exactly. And that kind of flexible thinking is super valuable no matter what you're doing, what field you go into.
Absolutely. So we've got critical thinking, communication, problem solving, anything else.
Oh, yeah. There's more. Students also reported this boost in their media literacy.
Wait, hold on. They were getting better at, like, spotting fake news by designing games.
Well, it might sound surprising, but when you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay, explain it to me.
To design those critical thinking challenges within their games, students had to really carefully evaluate sources of information, think about different perspectives, and that's essentially what you need to be a savvy consumer of information in today's world, right?
Yeah, especially with all the, misinformation and fake news out there.
Exactly.
Wow, I'm really impressed by how much this approach seems to have impacted these students.
It really does highlight the power of those active, engaging learning experiences.
Makes you wonder.
It makes you wonder how we can take what we've learned from this study and apply it to other areas of education.
Right. Or even professional development. I mean, it's not just about high school students. It's about finding more engaging and effective ways to learn, no matter what age you are or what you're trying to learn.
You got it. What if we all approached learning with a bit more playfulness, and a willingness to experiment?
I love that. This study is such a great reminder that play isn't just about having fun. It can be a powerful tool for developing all sorts of essential skills.
Absolutely. And it can make learning a whole lot more enjoyable in the process.
So as you go about your day, think about how you might integrate some of these ideas into your own life. What challenges could you turn into a game? What opportunities for collaboration could you create? It's a great challenge to leave our listeners with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of game-based learning.
Thanks for having me.
It makes you wonder.
It does, right?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if, maybe it's not just about the content of the learning, maybe it's also about the process and how we approach it.
I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, and it makes me think about those group projects we've all been a part of, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Sometimes those are just a way to, divide and conquer the work, But other times it felt like the group dynamic actually helped, like it pushed everyone to think harder and come up with better ideas.
Absolutely. And remember how in this study, the students were working in groups to design their games?
Right, they were working in teams.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing those group dynamics played a pretty big role in, whether or not they actually saw improvements in their critical thinking skills.
You guessed it. The study actually found that the level of collaboration within those groups was a huge factor.
So it wasn't just enough to be in a group, they had to be actively collaborating.
Exactly.
How did they kind of figure out which groups were actually collaborating effectively?
Well, the researchers, they observed the groups while they were working, right? And they paid attention to how much discussion and interaction was happening. Some groups really dove into the material together. They were debating ideas, challenging each other's assumptions, really pushing each other to think critically.
Those sound like the groups I would want to be in, for sure.
Right. Much more fun, much more engaging.
So what about the groups that weren't as collaborative?
Unfortunately, the groups that just kind of divided up the work without much real discussion, they actually saw a decrease in their performance.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
It is. It really highlights how important those rich discussions are, that back and forth, engaging in that collaborative learning process.
It really does. It makes you realize that just putting people in a group isn't enough. You have to create an environment where they can actually bounce ideas off of each other and, learn from each other's perspectives.
Absolutely. And, this study wasn't even primarily focused on collaboration, but it emerged as such a crucial factor.
Yeah, it's interesting how sometimes those unexpected findings can be the most revealing, right?
For sure. And this really underscores just how powerful social interaction and dialogue can be.
Right.
They can be real catalysts for growth.
So it sounds like this game design approach, it wasn't just about boosting critical thinking scores, right? It seems like the students were actually reporting all sorts of other benefits too, right? Beyond critical thinking.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we see these ripple effects when you introduce this kind of active, creative learning experience.
Okay, I'm definitely curious to hear more about these ripple effects. What other benefits did the students report?
Well, for one thing, they talked about a significant improvement in their communication skills.
Communication skills, huh?
Yeah, they felt more confident expressing their opinions, like being able to articulate their thoughts clearly. They even felt better about resolving disagreements constructively.
That's fantastic because, I mean, being able to communicate effectively is such a fundamental skill no matter what you're doing in life.
Couldn't agree more. And, one student even said, "Now I feel a lot more confident in what I think is right. I still accept the opinions of others and stay open-minded just as much, but I am more confident about convincing others with my own opinions than before."
That's great. They weren't just learning how to think critically, they were learning how to express those thoughts and engage in like real dialogue.
Right.
Okay, so we've got improved critical thinking, better communication skills. What else?
They also felt that their problem-solving abilities had improved.
Problem solving. Now, how did that come about through game design?
Well, when you're designing a game, you constantly have to break down complex tasks. You have to analyze all these different options and, try to come up with creative solutions.
Right, it's a constant puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. And all those things, they're essential for navigating real-world challenges too, right?
Definitely. It's like those game design challenges were kind of training them to think outside the box, approach problems from different angles.
Exactly. And that kind of flexible thinking is so valuable.
Okay, so we've got improved critical thinking, better communication, enhanced problem-solving skills. Anything else?
You're not going to believe this.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What else could there be?
They also saw a boost in their media literacy.
Wait, hold on. They were getting better at spotting fake news by designing games.
Yeah, I know it sounds kind of wild, but when you think about it, it makes sense.
Okay, help me understand this. How are those two things connected?
Well, to design those critical thinking challenges within their games, right, the students had to really carefully evaluate sources of information and consider different perspectives.
Right.
And those are the exact same skills you need to be a savvy consumer of information in today's world, right? Especially with all the misinformation out there.
It's true. It's like they were learning how to be more discerning about the information they were consuming.
Exactly.
Wow, I'm really blown away by this. I mean, it really shows how much impact this approach can have. It's like designing these games. It unlocked a whole set of valuable skills for these students.
It really does. It highlights the power of these, active, engaging learning experiences.
It does. It really does. But that's not all, is it?
There's one more thing.
There's more. Okay, you've really got my attention now. What else is there?
Some students even said that designing these games helped them improve their test-taking strategies.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Well, they found that by applying those critical thinking skills we were talking about, breaking down a problem, identifying that key information, making logical inferences, it actually helped them navigate those complex test questions.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So not only did they learn about all these important issues, develop all these essential skills, but they might even ace their next exam because of this class.
It's like a win-win-win.
It really is. It's incredible. It really does make you wonder how we can take all of this, all these amazing findings and actually apply them to other areas of education.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How can we take these principles of, game-based learning, collaborative design, and make them work in different learning environments?
Right, because it's not just about high school, right? It's about making learning more engaging and effective, no matter how old you are or what you're trying to learn.
Exactly. Imagine using this approach in, workplace training.
Oh, yeah.
Or community workshops, or even just for, personal learning projects.
I love that. What if we all just approached learning with a bit more playfulness? A bit more willingness to experiment.
I think it would make a huge difference.
Right.
We often get so stuck in those, those traditional models of learning, the lectures, the textbooks, the standardized tests.
Yeah, we forget about the power of play.
Exactly. Play is powerful.
This study is a great reminder that play isn't just about, having fun. It can actually be a powerful tool for developing all sorts of essential skills.
Absolutely. So as you go about your day today, I encourage you to think about how you might integrate some more, active learning into your own life.
I like that.
How can you be more creative with your learning? What challenges could you turn into a game? What opportunities for collaboration could you create?
That's a great challenge, and a great place for us to wrap up this deep dive. Embrace the power of play and see what you discover. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.